Hey, what's up everyone? It's Alan back again with another video. And today what I wanted to present to you all are the top 5 highest yielding REITs out there that I could find that are still paying dividends as of the making of this video. For this list, I analyzed over 50 different REITs out there in my quest to find the highest yielding ones that are available. One thing to keep in mind is I only looked into REITs that are publicly traded in the United States, and that's for convenience sake. So I didn't look for unlisted REITs that may have higher payouts to shareholders, and also it's entirely possible that I may have missed a really small or newer REIT out there that's currently yielding higher dividends, and if that's the case, I apologize. And I was also debating as to if I should include mortgage REITs on this list or just equity REITs, since mortgage REITs almost always have higher dividend yields than equity REITs. So what I ultimately decided to do was to dedicate this list to equity REITs, or in other words, REITs that own actual properties as opposed to mortgage REITs, which own mortgage-backed securities, CDOs, and the sort. I might make another video in the future specifically for M-REITs, but for the time being, please don't leave me comments saying, Alan, you forgot to include Annaly or Two Harbors Investment Corporation, because those are mortgage REITs and not equity REITs. There's a couple things that I wanted to bring up before diving into this list. First off, every REIT that I'm about to discuss, I would consider to be higher risk than other REITs out there. As you're about to see, a lot of these real estate investment trusts saw major declines in their share price and have yet to fully recover to pre-COVID prices. In fact, many of these REITs are in industries that tend to struggle significantly during bad economic times. I personally don't own any of these REITs, and I probably wouldn't recommend investing in them unless you happen to feel a lot more confident than I am that they'll be able to recover anytime soon. And secondly, just because these REITs are still paying dividends doesn't mean that they'll continue to pay dividends at the same rate or even at all in the future. As we saw in early 2020, many REITs slashed their dividend amounts, and there were even a few REITs that stopped paying dividends altogether for a period of time. Some REITs actually still haven't paid dividends since COVID started. This is largely depending on the type of sector that the REIT is operating in. So if you take the hotel and hospitality sector as an example, if fewer people are traveling because of the virus, there's going to be fewer profits for those REITs to pass on to investors. So my point is, if a REIT is paying 25 cents in dividends per share as of right now, don't automatically assume that it's always going to be that amount if the real estate investment trust continues to see hard times. Kicking it off at number 5, we have One Liberty Properties, ticker symbol OLP. This is a company that acquires, owns, and manages a geographically diversified portfolio consisting primarily of industrial, retail, restaurant, health and fitness, and theater properties. They own 123 properties in 31 states, with the majority of their holdings being located on the East Coast. According to their website, they were incorporated in 1982 and are headquartered in Great Neck, New York, which is a village on Long Island. Now, I personally had never heard of One Liberty Properties before conducting my research, and from what I was able to gather, it's a pretty small REIT when you compare it to the much larger real estate investment trusts out there like WP Carey, Realty Income, or National Retail Properties as an example. From looking over their property portfolio on their website, I was kind of perplexed by some of the choices in their portfolio. Granted, they do own some good warehouse buildings like distribution centers, which is good, but they do own a lot of smaller buildings, like, for an example, they own a few Applebee's in Georgia, but they also hold a number of buildings being rented by retailers that aren't doing so hot. One example is I came across a building for H.H. Gregg, which is a company that went out of business years ago. They also own some Barnes & Noble locations, they own a Chuck E. Cheese, they own movie theaters, a Party City, and honestly, just a few other ones that kind of stood out to me as being odd or not very good. But they do own some good distribution centers, as mentioned earlier, as well as a FedEx building, and for whatever reason, they also own a building for the NYPD, and they own one apartment complex. I guess they're just really trying to branch out into other areas, but hey, that could be a good strategy. It's currently trading at $19.82 a share and is down 27.43% from this time a year ago. Although if you look at this stock during pre-COVID times, its share price was rising. It's just had a really difficult time recovering since COVID started. As far as the dividend is concerned, they did declare a quarterly dividend of 45 cents per share on December 2nd. One Liberty Properties has not increased their dividend since 2017, but right now it's yielding 8.98%. One thing I did notice, according to Seeking Alpha, their payout ratio is currently 102.68%, which means at its current rate, the dividend they're paying may not be sustainable. You'll have to do some more research through their financials and try to determine the long-haul likelihood if they'll be able to keep up that dividend. If you think they can improve things, then maybe investing in One Liberty Properties might be for you. Next on our list is Office Properties Income Trust, ticker symbol OPI. This is a REIT that's focused on owning, operating, and leasing properties primarily leased to single tenants and those with high credit quality characteristics such as government entities and are strategic to the tenant, which may include built-to-suit properties, corporate headquarters, and buildings where tenants have invested meaningful capital. Their tenants are required to lease their buildings for a minimum of 7 years, which helps provide stable income to investors, since the longer the average lease means more stability in those dividends, which is good. According to their website, this REIT owns 174 properties in over 30 states, and approximately 93% of their properties are classified as being offices and the rest being industrial buildings. Office Properties Income Trust has existed since 2009 and are headquartered in Newton, Massachusetts. As you can see, as of the time of this recording, it's currently trading at $24.36 a share and currently has a dividend yield of 9.41%. According to Seeking Alpha, this REIT's share price is down 77.69% from this time 10 years ago and is down 33.54% from this time 1 year ago. It pays a quarterly dividend, with the last declared date being January 14th of this year at 55 cents a share. Fortunately, the dividend has remained at that 55 cents a share since there was a stock split back in January of 2019. I think a big reason as to why this REIT's share price has performed so poorly recently is because they own office buildings, which is one of those sectors that's been hit pretty hard by the pandemic since so many businesses are now allowing their workers to work remotely. And on top of that, this REIT does have a shorter lease term average than, say, Realty Income or some other REITs out there, which is another big factor in regards to stable dividends, as I talked about earlier. So if you believe the pandemic is going to end somewhat soon, or if you're led to believe that management is going to continue to do their job or do a better job with their strategy, then feel free to pick up a few shares if you're confident that that dividend yield is stable. Moving on to number 3 on our list is Preferred Apartment Communities Incorporated, ticker symbol APTS. This is a real estate investment trust that is engaged primarily in the ownership and operation of Class A multifamily properties, with select investments in grocery-anchored shopping centers, Class A office buildings, and student housing properties. Their investment objective is to generate attractive, stable returns for stockholders by investing in income-producing properties and acquiring or originating real estate loans for multifamily properties. As of September 30th of this year, this company owned or was invested in 125 properties in 15 states, predominantly in the southeast region of the United States. What I thought was interesting when I was looking at their portfolio of properties on their website, they actually own more supermarkets than actual apartment complexes as of the making of this video. It kind of makes you wonder why preferred apartment communities would pursue shopping centers over apartments. I mean, maybe they found it more profitable, I guess, but on the other hand, it could also mean a lack of direction in regards of managing their portfolio, which would be a far more serious issue in this case. I'm just not sure why they're pursuing this strategy. Maybe they'd be better off renaming their company to Preferred Shopping Center and Communities. But hey, apartment and shopping centers, they tend to make it through recessions better than, say, movie theaters or gyms, right? You need apartments for people who are getting evicted from their homes, and people still gotta buy food and groceries. Unfortunately, their branching out didn't seem to stop there, as they also own offices and student housing centers too. It's really just kind of bizarre, guys. I haven't been able to understand why they've been branching out this way. But right now it's trading at $7.07 a share and is down 42.25% from this time a year ago, which is pretty awful. It also has a dividend yield of 9.74% that pays quarterly, which is pretty nice, but they did slash their dividend payout quite a bit when the pandemic hit. Honestly, guys, I'm just not a fan of this REIT at all. I think it's way too risky right now. If you want to place a bet on them maintaining that dividend, you can invest some money into it, but personally, I'm staying far away from this REIT. I think there's just better real estate investment trusts out there that you can throw your money into, and I'm just really at a loss as far as the strategy that they're going for in terms of their property portfolio. Now, number 2 on my list of the highest yielding REITs out there as of the making of this video is the Geo Group, ticker symbol GEO. I actually don't know if it's the Geo Group or the GEO Group since GEO is all capitalized, but I'm just going to call it the Geo Group. But this is a specialty REIT that has a very unique strategy that I wasn't familiar with before making this video. The Geo Group is the first fully integrated equity real estate investment trust that specializes in the design, financing, development, and operation of secure facilities, processing centers, and community re-entry centers in the United States, Australia, South Africa, and the United Kingdom. Geo is a leading provider of enhanced in-custody rehabilitation, post-release support, electronic monitoring, and community-based programs. Geo's worldwide operation includes the ownership and/or management of 123 facilities, totaling approximately 93,000 beds, including projects under development with a workforce of approximately 23,000 professionals. They've been around since 1984 and are headquartered in Boca Raton, Florida. If you haven't been following the news, in recent years, for-profit prisons have faced a huge amount of scrutiny by politicians, particularly by those who are advocating for justice reform. People typically on the left side of the political spectrum historically haven't liked the idea of profiting off of mass incarceration. I'm really not going to get political here or anything or share my opinion because you all don't care, but this is probably why the Geo Group and other prison REITs out there like CoreCivic haven't been performing too well in recent years. In fact, CoreCivic stopped paying dividends altogether a while back. Things have gotten pretty bad. I'm definitely curious, though, as to how these stocks are going to perform under President Biden. Right now, it's trading at $8.95 a share, and it's down 44.81% compared to this time a year ago. It does have a really high dividend yield of 11.19% with its payout date being February 1st, but from my perspective, I just think the risk here is way too high for me to have any interest in this REIT at all. And again, there's so many better options out there that won't require a gamble, like WP Carey or Realty Income. But hey, those aren't yielding nearly as high as the Geo Group. So if you're convinced everything is going to be just peachy and this stock price is going to rebound, then feel free to pick up some shares. Just do me a favor and do some more research before deciding if this holding will fit in your portfolio or not. Before I get to the number 1 REIT on this list, if this video provided you with any sort of benefit, I'd really appreciate it if you could click the like button below and also subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content revolving around aggressive dividend investing. Thank you all so much for making it this far. I really do appreciate your time. The number 1 spot on my list for highest yielding REITs out there that I could find is American Finance Trust, ticker symbol AFIN. This is a real estate investment trust that's listed on the NASDAQ and is focused on acquiring and managing a diversified portfolio of primarily service-oriented and traditional retail and distribution-related commercial real estate properties in the United States. They own 885 properties and have an occupancy rating of 94.2% and an average lease term of 8.8 years. Their portfolio is very diversified in terms of the types of properties, but the majority of their buildings are in the retail industry like convenience stores, banks, healthcare, restaurants, so some of these industries are far more recession-proof than others. They're headquartered in New York City and were established in 2013, so they're somewhat of a newer REIT out there when compared to others. When I was looking at their portfolio on their website, I did see things I liked and I saw a couple things that I didn't. I like how their larger tenants include home improvement stores like the Home Depot and Lowe's, as well as General Dollar and other discount retail stores. Plus, they have convenience stores, as I just mentioned earlier, and they have good distribution centers. These are sectors that are usually less impacted by bad economic times, which is a benefit for this REIT, but they still own a lot of real estate in areas that are more impacted by COVID, which would include office space, restaurants, entertainment venues, beauty salons, apparel, and electronic stores. Right now, this REIT is trading at $7.28 a share, and it's down over 44% from this time a year ago, which is not good, but hey, it does have an 11.13% dividend yield, which is awesome if it's sustainable. What I think is a bummer is this REIT used to pay monthly distributions to shareholders, but according to Seeking Alpha, they switched to a quarterly distribution instead. You guys know that I love monthly distributions, and I'm sure a lot of you guys do as well, but for some reason they decided to switch to quarterly, and I haven't seen why that's the case. It's obviously more tedious to do a monthly distribution than quarterly, so maybe management wanted to take things in a new direction, or they needed to change strategies. I really don't know. Personally, I hadn't heard of this REIT before conducting my research, and I really don't have any interest in it personally. There's just so many other better options out there that are performing better right now. But if you want to hope for that price rebound and that consistent dividend going forward, then feel free to invest some. Or not. I'm not your dad. Alright guys, that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Please click the like button below if this video benefited you in any sort of way, and feel free to subscribe for more aggressive income investing videos. Let me know in the comments if you like any of these REITs, if you're holding any of them, if you're avoiding them. And again, I apologize if I missed any REITs out there that I could not find that are actually yielding higher than what I mentioned. I only looked at somewhat popular REITs, and I know it's possible that I could have overlooked some. Okay, thanks again for watching everybody, and I'll see you next time. Take care.